So in what threatens to be a franchise-breaking statement, here I am going back to the future, because it occurred to me that there has been what you now see, which is a Playmates, albeit in very small lettering, reissue of the original Starship Enterprise from the original series under the Star Trek universe banner here. And unlike many of the other items that I've shown you on this playlist to date, this is only 3 years old. So this comes from 2022. Now, as you'll immediately note, this is not the Strange New Worlds original Enterprise. This is the old school original Enterprise. And the interesting thing about it is that it is Playmates, but it's not screamingly Playmates. It's actually distributed by Bandai, but it is, when you look at it more closely, it is a Playmates toy. So nearly 30 years on from the original Enterprise 1701 that I showed you way back, this is now the modern day reimagining of that same toy. So, as you can see very clearly for the European market, try me, c'est moi, just here. Push buttons, which of course do work, this is only 3 years old.
Security alert to all decks.
So for once, I'm not surprised that the batteries work, but I don't know exactly what this is going to look like when I actually get it out. And what I am going to do is compare it with the original Playmates original Enterprise from nearly 30 years ago, because I happen to have it in my line of sight. So I think that'll be quite an interesting one. I don't have batteries in the other one, but I remember that its nacelle Bazaar collectors do light up, and I believe these do too. So let's have a look at the rear. You can see it's got this sort of whoosh. If you're familiar with the current Star Trek series, I think, or the way they're presented, sorry, this is quite a sort of a common theme. When you rewatch them on Paramount Plus these days, they whoosh around the screen a lot before they settle down, and then you get into the episode proper. So I think that this is Star Trek universe is tying in quite heavily with that new sort of presentation style. So as you can see, this is a fairly standard sort of back of box basically. Press the Enterprise sound activation buttons to initiate sounds from the classic Star Trek TV show. Engine nacelles light up. Light and battle SFX apparently. Light up engine nacelles, so possibly actually all of the nacelles light up as well as the front, we'll see. Light up impulse engine, so that's a new feature. Light up bridge, also new. Deflector dish. Interestingly, they've cut down the buttons to 3 from 4 originally, and they've done them somewhat more subtly, but they're still separate buttons. They didn't go the Diamond Select route. Now, of course, with Diamond Select being deceased, we're not going to see a Diamond Select update, but the Diamond Select have released several editions of the original Enterprise over time, so this is kind of catch up from Playmates really. And we've got a Star Trek display stand, which again I've not seen before, so I don't know what I'm in for there. It's again saying multiple light up effects down there, ship and battle sound, display stand, yep, well we know all that. Now then, there's a bit of a blurby bit here, as is often the way, and this says, in 2063, Earth made its first contact with an alien species, launching the planet and its inhabitants onto an interstellar stage. In the next century, United Earth established a space exploration and defense service, Starfleet, and co-founded the United Federation of Planets, a benevolent organization of hundreds of worlds. The chronicles of Starfleet are collectively known as the Star Trek universe. Interesting. So that's how they package the Star Trek universe then. Fair enough. All right then. So let's unbox, shall we? Okay, so none of your cardboard inserts in this day and age. Here we are bravely going with plastic. lots of see-through plastic. But it's a sensible way to do it, of course, because they've got to conserve the space, because we need the space to get the separated nacelles into so that they can be reinserted to create the Enterprise. So let me completely ignore any instructions that there might be, because there are some instructions. Albeit actually not very many. In fact, that's an extremely light instruction sheet, considering it does require some degree of assembly, which is interesting. So let's have a look. Now, I'm not going to bother putting fresh batteries in it because I know the batteries are operational, but what I am hoping is that they do actually do all the lights, because otherwise I might have to take it out of what might be a sort of a demonstration mode. Let's see if we can pop this out without wrecking it. That would be nice. I'm just seeing if it's got any. Actually keeping it in here. Nope, apparently not. But the pylon is. I guess this is what's. Okay. No, that's strange. Once you did it in at the right angle, it seems to be quite happy with life. Let's pop this out as well. Okay, that's another one. No, screw holes, look at that. Great big screw holes. Now, that may or may not matter, depending on which way around those are going in, so we'll see. But that is classic Playmates, I have to say. Okay, so let's just try and ease this out now. Let's take, I think what I'll do is I'll take, so one very, very see-through stand. It's interesting that they've gone for see-through for the stand. I guess they're trying not to detract from the actual model itself, but in the past, of course, they've made the stand more of a statement in and of itself for the actual ship and the overall model. Now, I managed to sneak that out past its wire. That's useful. And now, just the big main body. I'm just watching the navigational deflector dish there slightly carefully, because it does occur to me that that's the universal weak point on all original series Enterprises, is that deflector dish. And okay, that popped something out. Okay. I really hope children got their parents' help with this one, because, oof, yes, it survived. It survived. Always a bonus. Always a bonus when it's fresh out of the box. Okay. Good for when you want to repackage it, because that's a really good sort of insert in terms of going back into the box and preserving the box. So I'm all for that. Now then, where are these screw holes going to end up? And I have a sneaking suspicion they're going to end up where you really don't want them. I really do suspect that is going to be the case, because if I'm right, then this one is going in completely the wrong area for the screw holes to not be visible. Oh dear. Yep. So, I mean, they could have done that so much better. That's quite annoying. That is quite annoying. You can see there, can't you, that it's just that little bit off. Just that little bit off in terms of, if they'd gotten more underneath the centre line, you wouldn't be able to see those side on. But as it is, they are smack bang in your line of sight, which is unfortunate to say the least. Let's just try and, I don't know if you can see me doing this. It's quite, once they sort of slide in, they're all right, but it's a little bit. You've got to get just the right angle on it for it to be happy with it going in, it seems. Probably one of those times when you don't want to find out that you've got two left-hand nacelles or something equally daft. Come on. The other one was quite tricky as well. You notice on the back there, he didn't give you quite as much information about the Enterprise itself. That was more about the Star Trek universe and the actual ship, which is an interesting way to go. Ah, there we go. That's a good click. Okay. So I mean, it's an interesting. it's an interesting ship for them to still be making. You know, it's 2022. How many kids are watching the original series of Star Trek when they could be watching Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, you know, even Discovery, although possibly not so much for kids. But obviously, you know, there are a lot of series from Star Trek, you know, that you could now be watching. So that's just going to click in there like that. And does this then move, or does that bit? Oh, I see. It's just the top element that moves. Okay. So presumably, how far back can we get that? That's as far back as that will go. That interests me because I'm not quite sure how she's going to sit on that basis. So we've got, I think that says, yes. So we've got on, off, and demo. So we've got a switch here just underneath that that tells us which mode it's going to actually operate in. So we'll go to full on. Oh, that's interesting. I did not expect that. So full on is lit up everything. This will be my next step. So let me kill the lights. It'd be nice if these lights were more automatic, but they're not. So let me pop this in here. So I assume it's going to go in there. That's interesting. So there's actually a sort of a bit of a ball joint in the Enterprise itself. So you're not completely limited by just that peg angle. So it does actually allow you to a little bit more breadth of alignment within the ship itself as well, which is quite clever. Does mean you've got quite a lot of hull. You know, that's a failure, and it's another breakup of the surface of the vessel, granted. But looking at it from this angle now, I can't see those screw holes on the nacelles. Not quite, anyway. But if you go any lower, you can see them. So it's borderline, I feel. Now, when I switch that on, so it's switched off again now. Okay, so that was just a temporary on. So if I go to on mode, everything lights up briefly just to let you know that it's active, and then it'll fade away again. So let's try. Okay. So the first button does phasers and photon torpedoes repeatedly and alternating. So that makes perfect sense. What happens if I hold it down, I wonder? Does that do anything different? No, it doesn't. So there's no repeat. It's just each individual press gives you phasers and photon torpedoes as an option. So that's kind of what that does. Let's try this.
Arm photon torpedoes. Man battle stations. Photon torpedoes, fire. Prepare for warp maneuvers. Security alert to all decks. Arm photon torpedoes. Man battle stations. Photon torpedoes, fire. Prepare for warp maneuvers. Security alert to all decks. Arm photon torpedoes. Man battle stations. Photon torpedoes, fire.
So that sounds like about half a dozen or so, if I'm being generous, phrases from William Shatner, James Tiberius Kirk there. Just noticing the impulse engines do indeed light up as advertised, although I'm not sure why, in the sense that I'm not sure why they're white like that, because I'm not sure that they were in the series. Not sure what that one was. Okay, it's all very, very loud. Notice these got little glows at the back of the nacelles as well. I'm not sure why the white lights, they wouldn't be original series accurate that I'm aware of. I stand to be corrected on that one. That LED on, I don't know, it seems to, perhaps they're intentionally glowing slightly differently? Possibly. I was wondering actually if there's any light coming from inside the nacelles, but I don't think there is. I thought perhaps the sides might have. I mean, there shouldn't be any grills there, but there are slight grills on the other side of the nacelles there. So I half wondered if they were going to do something along those lines, but they don't seem to have. What do I think? I think the colour is pretty good. I'm just going to get the other much older Playmates version now, so you can have a look at that alongside. Size-wise, they're about the same, I believe. When I looked at this Playmates, the original one, earlier, I called it at about 17 inches. This one apparently is supposed to be about 18. Now, they may have used the same mould, but actually I'm thinking probably not, looking at them. This one's much smoother. This one's got a little bit of panel detailing on the top there. If I, let's turn the light back on and take you over the top of them both, and you can perhaps then sort of make your own judgment call in terms of how different or not they are. So obviously they've changed the button placement. I mean, obviously, you know, they are both as accurate as they both ever were. The sort of, you know, the decals and so on are pretty good. Both the coloration is different on the original Playmates. They use some dark elements, but the one on the left may be more the sort of remastered well, I'm assuming it's HD. You know, original series Enterprise. So it's definitely got more detailing on the top of the saucer section than the original one had there, unless I'm missing some stickers off the top of mine, of course, which is always possible. Slightly shinier plastic on the newer one, and it's got a little nod sort of light, like a running light here, whereas this one didn't have that. Again, different covering on the sort of. I quite like the original Playmates, so Buzzard collectors, because they've got a little bit of a pattern to them. That I always remember that from the original series, that they had a bit of a sort of spinning pattern to them. And as you can see, quite sort of distinct, very distinctly different stands, slightly different colour deflector dishes, but it's essentially, obviously, you know, very, very similar moulds as you would expect. But certainly, these are more obviously windows, whereas these are just little sort of indents in the same colour on the original version. So, yeah, I mean, I think the original version is a smidgen bigger. It seems to have more presence to it, to my mind. I mean, they both bounce around on their stands a little bit, but yeah, I think the older Playmates one is just it's very difficult to tell. Of course, I know when you're not lined up with them, but if you can see, that saucer is a little bit ahead of that one, and the nacelles are probably there's not that much in it actually. Just by eye, there isn't that much in it. There really isn't that much in it at all. In fact, I take that back. I think actually the newer version is a smidgen longer in the nacelles, interestingly. The necks are slightly different as well. So yeah, actually the new version may be slightly longer than the original, but not by much. So in terms of actual display purposes, they are very, very similar. And if you just sort of glanced at it, you'd probably be hard pushed to tell which was which, unless you knew them very, very well. They've both got 4 windows on the side there, on the side of the bridge element. I mean, obviously on the modern version, they've kind of printed Enterprise directly onto the hull, so the wording looks better, because it was a sticker on the earlier version. But then they got more sort of a sort of Gauss effect going down there, which I don't dislike. It's really interesting comparing them side by side, considering they come from the same company, albeit, you know, sort of nearly 30 years difference. It's just very, very interesting how they've approached it. Now, interestingly, how did they do? Well, that is hilarious, because there are no screw holes on the nacelles on the older version. Why on earth? So they could do it nearly 30 years ago, but on the more modern version, they've put screws in on the nacelles to hold the nacelles in place, which is a decidedly interesting design build choice when you consider that they had the option to clearly not do that 30 years ago and didn't do it 30 years ago. But there you go. Yeah, I mean, the modern version is nice. It feels a bit sleeker. It's a little bit narrower. It doesn't feel quite as chunky. The detailing overall is somewhat better, although I'm not an original series expert, so I don't know whether or not the windows are absolutely bob on and so on down the secondary hull. I'm not sure. But the stickering and so on will be somewhat different between them as well, because I've done nothing. I've applied nothing to the new one, and that is straight out of the box. So what you get out of the box is what you get with that one. There are no stickers to hand apply, so you're going to get a much more uniform result, off the back of that, of course. But yeah, I mean, I like it. It's a good original series Enterprise, as you would expect for 2022. Is it worth buying if you already have one? Probably not, because obviously you might even be going for things like the Tomy versions, that have come out and so on, that kind of thing. I think they did an original one first. So it's up to you, really. I mean, if you prefer the see-through stand, obviously modern, again, good. I don't dislike the old stand either, because it's making a bit of a statement in and of itself, but it is what it is. You pay your money and you literally take your choice in this particular instance, I think. I mean, see, in my day, I don't remember there being any detailing on the top of the saucer section when I was watching it, because of course I saw the unabridged, very basic original series Star Trek, whereas these days, that CGI model, well, now they've got a CGI model for the Enterprise in the remastered original series. So I guess that if you're used to that on Star Trek Universe on Paramount, maybe the Enterprise does look more like this one. That's possible, actually. That's actually possible, I guess. So comment away, please. I'm sure this one will be one for some debate amongst those in the know, and I look forward to your comments. So I will leave it there for that one. But I just thought it would be interesting to have a look at a more modern rendition of the Enterprise. In fact, one of the most modern renditions of the Enterprise that isn't a model kit. Cheers for now.